are listening to the Pathfinder Guru Podcast, where we help you to become a greater leader. Join us as we take the Advent message to all the world in our generation. So, are you ready to become a guru in this ministry?
Attention! Welcome to the Pathfinder Guru Podcast, and I hope that you're doing well and you're safe under the shade of God's wonderful wings. It has been a minute, it has been a while, but I thank God for all His goodness that He has been giving us. It has been a hectic few months coming from a Pathfinder fair. You know, when we always say that the last 10% is always the hardest, but we thank God that everything ran well. And above all, you know, when God is good, when God is ensuring that when all is said and done, each and everything goes according to His will, I am so happy and I am so delighted. In today's episode, I want us to talk about something which I have seen and have experienced while I was planning this Pathfinder fair and the challenges that came with it. But in particular, I want us to talk about us as leaders robbing Pathfinders of their Pathfinder ages or of their Pathfinder days. It has been happening, whereby we find ourselves that we are robbing Pathfinders of them being Pathfinders at their age where they're supposed to be Pathfinders. It has been something that has been troubling me, which I want us to talk about today. Now, when I see people robbing of Pathfinders their days, we primarily see it where we as leaders, we make the ministry about us and not the Pathfinders which God has given us. What do I mean by that? In simple terms, we are making ourselves the center of the piece, but we are not. We are making ourselves the cornerstone, but we are not. Children who are in this ministry is our mandate, and we need to ensure that they are taken care of. They are in safe hands. Their mandate is met at all times. But as leaders, we make it about ourselves. When we are fighting amongst ourselves or as a church, we make our children to suffer. When we are fighting or when we want to solve certain things which are not about the children end up suffering. They end up not doing certain things, not going to certain events because we are not making them the center. We are not making them a priority, which makes it much more difficult for us to even take them into certain places. And this is one of the most crucial things that we need to deal with as leaders, is that if you have a problem with me, don't let the problem be about the children. If you have a problem with my leadership, don't let my leadership affect that we need to deal with this thing, which is we need to ensure that children are safe under the shadow of God's wings. But that's not what is happening. We find ourselves in a situation whereby children are suffering because I have a problem with you as a leader. And now because I have a problem with you as a leader, now my children have, or your children rather in this scenario, have to suffer. And which is very much hilarious. We are robbing children an important part of their pathfindering life because we are not realistic. We are not coming down to their level, but we are there to settle scores. We are using children to settle scores, which becomes difficult and which becomes painful in the long run. And another thing that we are robbing children, besides us having problems with leaders, is that we are not taking children to events which they're supposed to go. When you look at a Pathfinder, you become a Pathfinder for about 6 years. And how many camporees are you going to attend in your Pathfinder ages? Give or take 2. Minimum is 1. But if we are going to rob them of attending Pathfinder camporees, Pathfinder fairs, going to camps, and doing the progressive classes, then what are we saying? We find children who want to go to Pathfinder Fair, who want to go to Pathfinder Camporee, but they cannot do that because as leaders, we cannot plan, we cannot fundraise, we are not putting any effort, we just give up on them and they lose of the important substance which is being Pathfinders at their age. We rob them of progressive classes. Children, you start at friend, then the next year there is no classes, and the next year there is no classes, the age is moving, they're skipping classes, but we are not consistent in ensuring that when we start at friend, we will end at the guide. and possibly master guide. But because we are leaders who are robbing them, everything is about us, it becomes difficult for you to become consistent in progressive classes, in teaching the honors and awards, in taking children to camps and organizing camps, because you yourself are not organized as a leader. You are there because they chose you, because there was no one else to put, but you are not even putting the initiative to try by all means to ensure that children are going to fair. I have this one thing, that if as a leader I am going to a Pathfinder Camboree or I am going to a Pathfinder fair and my children are not there, what am I saying to myself? What am I saying to the children? That they are not better than other children who will be there? What example am I setting to them? This is the problems that we have in the ministry, that we are having children not being exposed to this whole beautiful thing of the ministry. Then we have this thing that we always say when we're having a Pathfinder day or when we're greeting the Pathfinders. We say, Pathfinders today, leaders tomorrow, Pathfinders today. But they cannot see, they cannot envision themselves becoming leaders tomorrow in this ministry. We are having an issue now where we do not have young master guides, but we have people in their early 40s, late 50s who wants to start master guide, who have been in the ministry at their youth, but somehow because we could not capture them, we could not promote, we could not preach to them, we robbed them of something. Hence at a later stage, then they realize, I need to do a master guide. Oh, I need to become a leader. It becomes difficult for them because they did not see it at their young age. It is very much crucial that we capture children at a young age. That's where we can say, Pathfinders today, leaders tomorrow, Pathfinders today, because they are exposed what we envision them to be in the future. But we cannot do that because we are robbing them of each and everything. The ministry is about us. We are master guides who only come to certain events. We are uniform master guides. At local church, we are nowhere to be found. When we need teachers to teach progressive classes, when we need instructors to instruct honors and awards, we are nowhere to be found because we are leaders who are event leaders. When there is a camboree, international camboree, that's where we jump and say, let us go to the international camboree. But you have failed your club. For these 5 years, you have failed your club. You have been nowhere. But when there's activities, when there's events where you need to show up and take pictures for social media, you are there. But when it's time for you to go back at your local church to serve the children who are there, to ensure that they are safe, you are nowhere to be found. You are robbing them of something, but you have the audacity to stand and take pictures all around the world. But at your local church, you are nowhere to be found. How shameful can you be? Children that are in your club do not have full uniform. They don't have class A, they do not have class B, you don't have drums, you don't have flags, but you have the audacity to go out there and say, I come from this and this club, but it is suffering. Set an example. Be an example at your local church. Stand up and do something about it. But don't find yourself being an event master guide who only shows up because it is part of showing up. But be a director, be a leader that will stand up and say, I will go. I will serve at my local church. I will ensure that each and everything is okay before I spread my wings and fly. We should not be robbing Pathfinders of such powerful things, of such powerful progressive classes and the curriculum itself. We need to be realistic, we need to be thoughtful, and we need to serve at our local church. There is power in serving in the local church, and I pray even local church boards become serious about this. We cannot having people that are serving even at higher level, but their clubs are suffering. We cannot have leaders who are active at the top but inactive at their local church. Your local church should set an example. Your local church should be what we see. When we are looking you at the top, we know that at the bottom, which is your local church, it is in order. Leaders, I say this with a painful heart. I say this with a frustration because we are living in a time whereby we are all about positions and not about work. We are all about positions and not about doing the mandate of the ministry, the mandate of God. So my prayer and my hope to you today is that if you realize that you were a leader, who were an event leader, you were a leader who shows up only to take pictures, who shows up because it is part of showing up, but you're not putting your feet in the mud, you're not working actively at your local church, this is a calling to you. Come back, because we need you. Come back, because you are needed. Come back so that you can serve the Lord. Because when all is said and done, all the honor and glory may go unto Him who is able to deliver us from falling. Thank you very much. But for now, as you ponder upon this, as you think about it, you are dismissed.